Windows Forms Fundamentals. To get started, create a new Windows Forms application named WinForm Fundamentals. You can do this in VS 2008 by creating a new project and selecting Windows Forms application, or right-click an existing solution file and select Windows Forms application. The results are that you have a new project with references to system.windows.forms.dll. This is a library which holds a Windows Forms API application programming interface. A form is a class just like any other type you write C# code against. All controls on the form are also classes, and you use them just like any other type in C#. Windows Forms is a classic example of the effective implementation and use of delegates and events. You have the Windows Forms API that belongs to the .NET Framework class library that exposes events. Then you use the delegates that those events are based on to connect your code to the API to make your program work. Support for Windows Forms. The visual design environment, files in a Windows Forms application, the Windows Forms entry point, user code, Visual Designer generated code, modifying the Visual Designer, using Windows Forms controls. The visual design environment. Visual Studio has a helpful visual design environment that helps you build user interfaces, which contains controls that you can drag and drop onto the design surface. The design surface is in the middle of the screen. You can see that it is what you see is what you get, WYSIWYG environment, where you can resize the form and visually see the results of your work. Although not shown in this example, non-visual control appears below the form in the Visual Designer in an area called Component Tray. You've seen the Solution Explorer already when building console applications, and it is a necessary part of every application. The Properties window is context-sensitive. It will change depending on which window or control that is selected on the design surface. In such cases, you must use the drop-down window at the top of the Properties window to select the control. Files in a Windows Form application. There are a few different files that were created by the Windows Application Project Wizard. Form1.cs, user code for working with the form. You normally work in this file most of the time. All your event handlers and code that you call your business logic are added here. Form1.designer.cs, Visual Designer generated code. You normally don't ever need to open this file. If you need to write your own code to work with the form, it will typically be done through form1.cs. Form1.resx, resource file for bitmaps, strings, icons, and so on, localizing and globalization, discusses resource files in greater depth. Program.cs contains a main method. The Windows Forms entry point. If you open the program.cs file, you will see a main method. This is much like you've seen in console applications, whose entry point is also the main method. The application.run method will start the program and not return until the application closes. User code. When adding specific behavior to Windows Forms application, you would use the form1.cs class the Windows Application Project creates for you. You can see this code by right-clicking either the form in the Visual Designer or form1.cs in Solution Explorer and selecting View Code. But there are a couple of significant observations to make at this point. First, Form1 is a partial class. Visual Designer generated code. Form1.designer.cs holds a matching partial to the Form1 partial class defined in Form1.cs. When this code is compiled, C# combines these two files into a single class definition. Considering that Form1 is a partial class and its constructor calls an initialize component method, the other Form1 partial class explains the definition of the initialize component method. When modifying the Visual Designer, this example will demonstrate to you how the Form1.cs and Form1.designer.cs work together while you're building a UI. Drag and drop a button control onto the design surface. If you want to delete anything that you accidentally drop on the design surface, select the control and press the delete key, or right-click the control and select Delete. Go to the Properties window and set the following properties. You can find height and width under size. Set text Don't Click Me. Set height to 50, set width to 150. Set name to Nearlit. Using Windows Forms controls. A control is a specialized window with specific features and unique purpose. These are things like button, checkbox, checklist, combo box, data grid view, date timer, form, group box, label, link label, list box, list view, etc. Button control that can be clicked to perform some desired action. Checkbox primarily used for displaying a binary state of an object. Clicking the checkbox causes it to toggle between a checked or unchecked state. Checklist, list box with a column of checkboxes. Combo box, a drop-down list of choices that operate similar to the list box. The primary difference is that the combo box is more compact and efficient with screen real estate.